Welcome to another edition of PENSDOWN. On this program, we sit down with journalists and get to understand their journey through journalism, all that they went through as they went about trying to bring us the breaking news, the entertainment, the sports stories, and everything in between. Today, the CEO of Sifa Communications, who is also a former senior public relations officer of the Trust Hospital Accra, has joined me for a conversation on his journalism journey. His 32 years of journalism practice cut across print and electronic platforms, with TV3 Ghana, New African Magazine in the UK, and the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation making the list of some of the media houses he has worked with. He once worked with the British High Commission in Accra as communications manager and also served as research consultant for the International Organization for Migration. My guest today is Dr. Nana Sifa Twum. Grateful to have you today, sir.
Thank you, Steve. I'm happy you having me today.
32 years of journalism, 20 of those years outside the shores of Ghana. That gives you a feel of journalism across possibly different countries or even different continents. How is the comparative experience for you?
Well, it is a very nice experience, very intriguing one, because you realize you have a feel of Western journalism and a journalism that is practiced here in Ghana.
Okay.
You see the difference, and the edge comes for you to make corrections, do commendations, and that. So it's a good thing. It puts you on a different pedestal to assist people and also to improve yourself in the work of journalism.
In terms of standards, which of them demanded more of you? Which of them was merciless in ensuring you gave your utmost best?
In terms of standards, like you did mention in your introduction, I've worked at all spheres of journalism, electronic media, print media, web media, and all that. And I compare what's the nation Ghana journalists have to offer as those that's in the Western world. Primarily, I would say I'm not happy as I sit here with the kind of journalism that is practiced on radio these days. If you want me to zero in, I'll go into the vernacular speaking stations.
Please go ahead.
It's not the best of journalism for some of these journalists on some of the radio stations that are inclined using the Ghanaian languages. Yourself, the style of presentation, news carrying, news reading, they all play down, especially in news reading and stuff like that. News is a very serious business in journalism.
Exactly.
So if you add humor and entertainment to it, the value of it's dropped somewhere, and somebody somewhere listening to you take your humor and the entertainment more than the actual message that is in the news. And exaggerations, especially on matters relating to rape and if you like sex and things like that. It's not something that we need to continue to encourage. But I've had a chance to talk to a few senior members of this profession, and they are also worried. But it's left to the authorities who have the badge to correct and punish, to look at these things and work on them.
You said news is serious business.
Yes.
That is very instructive.
Yeah.
Now, some of these stations, as you pointed out, during the presentation of news have all manner of adjectives describing scenarios in such a manner that you will laugh off before you get to hear the actual information. What does this kind of development mean for our democracy that we are trying to nurture?
Well, that is the beauty of democracy. That is allowing everybody's opinion, everybody's view, everybody's and everybody's freedom. But for freedom ends somewhere. Freedom doesn't have a longer and everlasting journey. No, somewhere. And those freedoms that people are practicing in journalism is seriously affecting the kind of what we have, things that we have to hear or see or watch on television. The dilution is too much, and the core matter in journalism is just dropping elsewhere, and we're doing that behind. And that is a worry to some of us. I think something must be done. Yes.
Okay. What about the English-speaking media? Have you observed those ones too, and what is your take?
Yeah, for the English, except that media management and control in the country is also another big thing. People have money, and they think media is also another spectrum of business. Just invest in it and decide what practicing and professional journalists must do because it's their money. So by fair or foul means, they want to impose on the journalists to do what they think will give them the. And that is also another being that is thwarting the effort of journalists in this country to do what is expected of them. But by and large, and frankly speaking, if you look at it or you listen to the English-speaking stations and televisions, it's not bad comparatively. It is, and I think it's a plus for us. What I think we need to look at is some few things that are creeping into our system. For instance, if you watch television for this time round, sponsors who are put on programs have their logos competing with stations on screen. It is unprofessional. It's not done anyway. You need to have time for sponsors. Give them time, sign things that will enthuse them to come on board, and not let their logos compete with your logo on screens. They don't own the station. Once you have your logo on your screen, means the authoritative manner under which you have the power and the professionalism to deliver to your viewers. You don't do that. You don't do that with your sponsors. No. Don't do that. So some of these little things. And then you also look at interview skills these days. And the line of interviews that journalists use. They are also to some extent have some more room for improvement. You also look at camera shots, for instance. I hardly seen on Western media screens where the interviewee and the interviewer are all having the same angle shots on screen. It doesn't happen anyway. The journalist doing the interview want to be shown on screen. Intro with yourself, but when the person that you are interviewing is talking, it is about him and not you. So he has to be on screen. Yeah, he has to be on the screen. And then the reason is that his attention is needed for your audience and your viewers. So these are some of the little things that I think is creeping in that we need to correct. Apart from that, everything is good.
Okay. There is the increasing political ownership of the media in Ghana. Politicians nowadays have found owning media platforms as one of the exciting enterprises they venture into. Do we have a cause to worry as a country?
Yeah, we have a cause to worry. It's first and foremost, it brings division into the society. Every single journalist around the globe is, if you like, an ideological being. By ideological being is the person has his own ideology, be it political, be it cultural or traditional. So much as these are there, they also influence the output. Influence the output. And if you, the owner of the media, comes along to put some more, if you like, ideology to the person, it creates confusion. Confusion for the journalists. And then most often than not, some of the journalists toe the line of their media owners, like I said earlier. And this is why the trouble starts. Where the trouble starts. And I said it brings division because also if you are from a party A and you are from your station, predominantly all your programs and all the things that you put on your media are going to be about your party. Yes. And that is what we are experiencing now. You listen to some of the stations that are affiliated to political parties. It is all about their party. This is where I am saying division. But if we have a cohesion, that will bring all people around, all station, where irrespective of where the person belongs to in terms of party politics. Journalism has to bring people together. Okay. It has no business separating or dividing the society.
Okay. One of the practices in journalism in Ghana, we call it sole. That is, you go on assignment as a journalist. After the event organizers are done with whatever news conference or event they invited you to cover, they give you some sort of envelope with some money. Well, according to some people, it is supposed to be transport or some sort of a thank you. We call it sole in this country. You have practiced beyond Ghana as well. Did you experience that where you practiced?
Never in places that I've practiced outside Ghana, never. Believe you me, I appeared on BBC one time ago for about interview, and I was paid. I was paid for it.
Okay.
I was paid for it.
Okay.
Elsewhere that I've practiced, the journalists at times have to pay money to get staff to publish. Here in Ghana is the other way around. It has not worked well for the growth of the industry. You organize with my practice in public relations too. I experienced it.
Yeah.
Certain times, even media men that were not invited, get crash at your programs. It becomes a worry because for me, I work in the pension industry, working for the National Pensions Regulatory Authority.
Okay.
When I organize program and I don't need a specific media house because you cannot tell the story as I want others to tell it, I will invite you. But they come and for some reason they want to you as if you are invited them. If you have not, I have not invited you, so why do you demand transport from me? And if it is that they are even being so gracious, for lack of better word, that if you give them, they will take it, or you don't give them, they will go away. That will have been another good story. But this one, they insist that give us something, give us something, and that is not good enough. That has emanated largely from the fact that most of these journalists are not paid by their employers. I say this for a fact. I know some of them, especially those who have just completed schools and looking for jobs, they and they stay there. And they heavily depend upon this solid that you are talking about. And it is time that media will need to look at this and address it properly, because it is doing us more harm than good. I have never encouraged this, because I was thinking we were going to talk about the journey, but I think this level I can talk about a few things regarding my journey. I was with GBC.
Okay.
And then there was a story that I covered somewhere in the Eastern region. And for me, it was political.
Okay.
I went and covered the story. I sent the story to Accra, to the Edge. Those days, you have to the television tape to the GPR for the GPR to send it to Accra and come and do whatever they want to do with it. So it's ended at where I'll send the story to Accra newsroom. And if even, frankly speaking, if I were the news editor at the time, the story wasn't any newsworthy story. So I wouldn't have used this. But I was compelled by political circumstances to cover the story. So I went. And for some reason, the story was not used. And when the person involved used her power, she was a lady, so I would say she used her power to call to find out whether the story was used. No, he said, why was not the story used? And they said, the newsroom said that I didn't send the story.
Wow.
And that I had demanded money from and then when they contacted me, I said I said the story. So the person contacted the person who was involved in the assignment. And he said, I demanded something, he said, if they don't give me something, I will not send the story, or I will not publish the story. Something I will never do. I was the first batch of people television and radio in the Eastern region with GBC. TV as the very first correspondent ever. So I work with TV3 for radio, and they were trying to extend their tentacles into other parts of the country. So we made arrangements with Kumasi, and then they cast their eyes through the newsroom and, can you do this for us? And I said, why not? So I started the Kumasi office of TV3 as well.
Okay.
When I was there for a year, they sent me money to do recruitment for a driver. They sent me a vehicle, looking for a place to hire for office and all that. So I basically started the Kumasi office. And then after a year, they asked me to be if you like, the Northern Sector news coordinator for them.
Okay.
So that was the job I did before I traveled outside.
Okay.
So we started ethnic media paper in the UK. It was free, like the Evening Standard, if you go to the UK. And what we were doing was to use it basically to get the ethnic minority news there, and then the high-profile Western news combined in that media. And we use it also to get people and institutions who wanted to exhibit or talk about or advertise their products and services in the UK and beyond in that newspaper. So it was that kind of journey that I just chipped this in, but the primary subject that we were talking about was Soli. And I was saying that I hate it because of the trouble that has set me in about my practice as a journalist. So it's not something that we should encourage at all.
Nana, first of all, or let me take it from what sent you into journalism, how the decision to become a journalist came about. Walk us through that path.
Do I even know? I was trained as a teacher. Okay. There was this, those days, they called something GBC fan club. Okay. Like fan club for, those days it was only GBC. And no radio station or television station. So they had a fan club. And what they were doing was to whip up interest of young ones to listen and write. So across the length and breadth of this country, especially in the second cycle institutions, They had these clubs, and I was a member of. And my interest in writing arose at the time.
Okay.
And I had a tutor. He's in Canada now, Joe Kingsley. Yeah, he's also another good writer who encouraged me to write. So I started writing, and I wrote my first news commentary for GBC at the age of 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it spurred me on. And I was writing for GBC Club Corner, where I wrote about almost everything that I see. I was writing news articles, I was writing research articles and stuff like that. So there is the coordinator, if you like, for GBC Fan Club at the time was Gordon Avenugo.
Okay.
A very sound and renowned broadcaster.
Yes, he's a veteran in this country.
Veteran journalist, yes. And he said, Kwaku, he called me, Kwaku, you want to be in journalism or you want to be a teacher? And I said, well, whichever way, because I was too young to decide for myself.
Okay.
So I needed somebody to direct my path. And then he said, well, journalism, you write very good articles and stories. So try journalism and see. So in college, I was posted to somewhere in the Eastern region. So I started writing for GBC as a stringer.
Okay.
And then about 2 or 3 years' time, they took me on. And then even though I was not fully paid, what GBC called then as an artist. So I was paid as and when I write. Okay. I was writing more, and they were almost everything that I write. I was getting much more money. Okay. Interest came, and then I applied for journalism course at GIG. 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 Yes. And then I also applied for one in Kenya, the popular journalism school in Kenya, and then I had admission for the two of them. So I decided to go to Kenya first. But when I started, for some reason, I came back. And that was the time that I had some financial difficulties. So I came back. And GIG had already gone up, I think about a year ahead of my admission request. I tried to practice. So I started doing some online courses, and I had the opportunity to go to the UK. And I enrolled in the year 1998. And I don't know whether it's I don't have any word in my dictionary called lucky. I prefer to call that favor of God. That's right. I entered university at the age of almost 30 years. Yes. And that was the Middlesex University in the United Kingdom. So I did journalism publishing, and then I did a diploma with the Tower Hamlet Communication School. Okay. And then I did my master's with the London Metropolitan University. Okay. Years after, it took me about 5 years instead of 3 years to do in the US. So that is how it started. But whilst I was doing journalism, I thought that I could combine the PR. Okay. That's why I did communication studies, master's and PhD. And with journalism, I've worked with several institutions. Like I said, I work with GBC, I work with TV3 here in Ghana. And then I started what then was known as the Radio Z. Okay. Radio, I don't know how it is called now. I think the name has been changed. But I started it. I trained people like Abiku Agri. Okay. I trained people like Kwamina Sambani. Okay. A few others. Who they are proud that I did that for them. Abiku, for instance, met me in the UK, and he was a guest host of a program. And it was announcing it all over that I have my first program director here in the UK. So it was for God and country. The UK too, I mentored several people, with my Sifa communications consult. I brought to learn PR and journalism. And like I said, we published the African Echo. And then years later in 2014, Radio and Television Times. That primarily looks at the industry. We do profiling of media personnel. We talk about ethics and professionalism. We do a whole lot of media, especially in the area of broadcasting, television and radio. And that is, we circulate this magazine in Canada, US, South Africa, Ghana for now. Yes, so that is how it started. That is where we are at the moment. Then I've done a lot in PR too, not only in journalism. I work for the International Organization for Migration as a consultant, where I research and produce a report. They wanted people who were living in the United Kingdom at the time illegally to voluntarily go back home. So I did research and did the media work to get over 320 Nigerians who wanted to go, who were living in the UK illegally at the time. About 180 Ghanaians, about 60 Syrians, and a whole lot. And then they gave them £3,000 for you to relocate to your country and give you 10 years to sign that you never return. I spearheaded all those activities. One proud achievement of mine, which has never been broken, is when in 2011, the Ghana Blasters was playing the English national team. Mel Good Consult was the promoted. They hired me as a consultant in marketing and media. The match recorded the visiting fans, 21,000 visiting fans, which has never happened at Wembley before. That a country playing England and their fans have come to watch that. Never. They have never recorded that. And it's a huge achievement. I also organized the first ever, if you like, the investment and trade fair on Ghana, which I was able to bring Twum fore to London. We also went a year later to Atlanta, where we had similar. The vice president by then, Ali Muhammad, attended the two events. One thing happened that I remember. When Twum fore is attending a program, the program was held at Alexandra Palace, a very venue. And then the whole place was packed to capacity. Many people outside, and the program slated it at I think 1 o'clock, and it was okay. Twum fore was still not there, and the place was packed. And then the journalists, the CNN journalists, the BBC journalists, all of them were coming to find out from me why the program was delayed. And I said to them that for us as Ghanaians and our culture, the protocol of your Twum fore have to make sure that every single individual attending this is seated before, and that has not been done. People are still trooping. So we must make sure that when he sits down, nobody comes in. And they said, that's how it is. And I said, yes, that's how it is. So I don't know whether I was able to convince them or confuse them. But they accepted it, and that was part of their story. So I think blending journalism and PR is good for me.
Okay.
It's something that I've admired and I've loved doing it.
Now, there are calls by journalists, practicing and retired, that journalists should be licensed in Ghana. What is your take on this?
I agree with them. I agree with whoever come up with that call. You know, doctors are licensed.
Yes.
Before they can practice.
Yes, and
lawyers
lawyers
are licensed before they can practice. Whatever these two professionals can do to make the life of somebody uncomfortable, either killing or in somebody's image, the journalist can do the same. A story by a journalist can kill. Do you believe?
That's true. In Rwanda, it happened.
Yes. A story by a journalist may dampen somebody's spirit and it's his image forever and ever.
That's right. Yeah.
So I strongly believe that journalists around the world, not only in this country, must be licensed and then be regulated.
Okay.
Now we don't see any regulatory body for journalists that is working perfectly in this country. Even the Media Commission has some challenges regarding how to censor journalists because journalists don't work under Media Commission. The GJ is not a regulatory body, and I'm looking forward to a day when the GJ can stand up and say to a journalist, "Don't practice in this country." And if the person has his money and go and open his own radio station or newspaper, what powers do you have to stop the person doing it? Why to get the license from just the Registered Journals Department and perhaps the Ghana Revenue Authority? Yes. So I think the need for licenses is something that I will buy into it.
Okay. Your use of regulating journalists, I want you to put it in context for us so that we do not confuse it with having to stifle freedom of speech. What exactly do you mean when? Yes.
No. When I say regulating journalists, on that journalists have their freedom to work, but they are in somewhere.
Yes.
I've seen a journalist ranting at the president with no basic facts on television.
That's right.
I've seen a journalist ranting at the without any factual evidence. Much as I do agree and believe that when you do that, you can be taken to court. Yes, you can be taken to court. But for once you can be taken to court, the Journalists Association, having the powers of regulation, can also do something to you if they have it. That's all that I'm trying to do. You should have the freedom to write, to speak, to draw, to take pictures, to do everything. But not to tinter somebody's image, about them image, you know. So these are some things that I'm agitating for. Okay.
So when we talk about the issue of licensing, at the heart or one of the key prerequisites for becoming licensed as a medical doctor or as a lawyer is a professional qualification in that craft. Now in Ghana, according to the Ghana Journalists Association, you don't necessarily need formal training to qualify to be a journalist. You could either become a journalist by professional training or by practice. How do we reconcile these vis-a-vis the calls for licensing of journalists? How are we going to navigate that terrain?
It's not difficult at all. Journalist who is learning on the job, you have a supervisor, somebody is training you. So there should be a recommendation from your media owner or your supervisor, somebody who thinks he has trained you. So he will also bear the consequence if he likes that he has trained you well. I know for sure the doctors and the lawyers, after their professional training and they are good for their license, people sign for them. There are people who recommend them to that they have been well trained, either their institutions or where they have worked. The same thing can be done to the journalist.
But I don't know if I am getting you right. Now, the thing is this. for the lawyers and the doctors, at entry, you must be licensed before you start your first practice.
Yeah.
Now, you are saying the journalist can, he works under a superior who can sign and endorse that this person has received training so and so. So before that person starts the training, who is he? Is he still a journalist?
No. You don't just start as a journalist one day that you a newsroom and call yourself a journalist. Let me tell you, when we went to GBC,
yes, sir.
Those days you can write a story and you go and record the story, and Gordon Avanovo, get Ariado, Harrison, Madam Harrison, Kunedu, Amamukakra,
these are legends.
And they were our supervisors. They will ask you to go and listen to your own recording. Come and discuss your mistakes with them. You come and discuss your own mistakes with them. So after you have listened to, they will also listen to it. And for me, for 2 years at GBC, I never went on there. Never in my life.
Okay.
You can't get it that's straightforward. No. You need to go through the meal. You have to. And then well polished before you can come out, or you can come on there. You understand what I mean? I had a senior journalist who was supervising me, Emmanuel Safo. He's on retirement. And I thought at the time that he was just worrying me. Because every assignment I have to go. But that shaped me. Sometimes I'll go with him on the assignment. He will never write a story. He said, write a story and bring it. And I'll write about 6 stories. And I'll push all of. And then some of them, when you put the story on his desk, he takes his pen and cross the whole thing. And you have to go and write it again. I told you
just like that. Just like that.
Because for him, he doesn't see any sense in it. Your lead, your body, and everything crap.
Whoa. And
it's not a matter of discouraging you. It's a matter of helping you to do the right thing. Now here we are. The training was so John Yankuma, blessed memory in the GBC room. When you send a story to the newsroom, we'll call you on the phone if he finds faults in there and correct the mistake that he finds in there with you on telephone before he will allow the story to go.
Wow.
These are the kind of training. So for me, you should not start as a journalist. You start as an apprentice.
Okay.
So 2-3 years, and somebody thinks that you are perfect to be called or describe yourself as a journalist, then he can recommend you for your license.
Oh, okay. Now, back to GBC, the incident you cited, where the lives of Seche Boateng and Mamie Fiaknedu and the rest will ask you to listen to your own report and identify the mistakes. Now, had they taught you how to identify your own mistakes?
Yes. Before they do that to you, they will want you to listen to them every time that they are on there.
Okay.
It wasn't difficult because that time there was only 2 radio stations, Radio 1 and Radio 2. If you like, you go into the external service, 3 of them, which is mostly in French. But you have to listen to them. So you pick their if you like, their style, their rhythm. You pick everything, pronunciations and all that. Now, certain times, or like we were talking about earlier, you go to some radio stations these days and they mention people's name wrongly and they laugh. They don't feel ashamed and they laugh. Messing people's name on air and they find it fun. It's fun. In this case, you can't do that. Even when you go on assignment and you are not sure of the pronunciation of the person's name, you record it. You let the person record it for you and bring it to the newsroom. That is why some of us were trained. So you can get it. You can never get it.
I had a conversation with Taikiche one of the retired broadcasters from GBC. And he said,
I work with, Teacher was the castle correspondent when I was in Kufuria. So whenever he comes to the AC region, I work with him. And
yes.
he has been a very good friend of mine.
Yes. And for him, what he was recommending as one of the prerequisites for those who will not go through the formal training was that just like the IPR does, there can be a system of examination, professional examination for those in practice to take so they attain membership at different levels. I don't know if you would also buy into this kind of idea as, you know, the licensing regime put in place for journalists.
Yeah, I agree with you, because when I said somebody must recommend you, it doesn't like when you are recommended, you are given the license. You must
That's a fact. Yes.
You must be tested. So I agree with that. I think we are all singing from the same song sheet. You must be tested. And even if you are not going to be a full journalist, so I've never heard anything like that. But if they are going to, there's going to be some kind of grades, fine. But when you are recommended, it means you are ready for examination for you to be licensed.
So, are you still practicing journalism? Do you still consider your?
Yes, I'm still practicing journalism. I write for GBC. Okay. I write weekly for the Ghanaian Times. I write for the Daily Telegraph. I write for the Ghanaian News in Canada. And as and when people ask me to write, I do write. Quite recently, I did a research on what was killing Ghanaian men in the UK. Ghanaian. I did it. It took me about 2 years to do that research. And I did it. It was bought with a very nice pace, if you like.
Oh, okay.
So I did that. And I'm still researching into a very nice one that will come soon. And that is equity among Ghanaian women on the social media. It's a very intriguing one.
So I want to find out, with this, your extensive repertoire of experience across the communications industry, you have not mentioned being a lecturer or going to teach journalism or communications. Do you have any such plans? Do you intend to train people? I'm talking about formal academic training, not the capacity building probably you have been doing for a long time. Do you have any such plans?
We'll think of it. Not. But I also like teaching. I teach in the church, and I as a trained teacher. I said to you, I'm a professional teacher. Okay. Teaching is something that is also in my blood. But we'll get there. We'll get what to do.
You have done journalism for 32 years. If we are to go back into time 40 years, would you still choose journalism as a profession?
By all means, I have no other profession that I have loved than journalism. Somebody was asking me, and I said, everything in this world is journalism. Everything, because you can't document. If you want proper procedure in setting up business, you want proper procedure in doing anything. And I told him that the Bible is a journal. The Quran is a journal. All those who have their scripts there, I can call them journalists. I can't see a better journalist than Jesus Christ himself. Moses and those who put this together and brought us the Bible. So journalism is something I like, and I love it.
Do you have any of your kids or family members following your path? If not journalism, in communications?
Nanajua is not a professional journalist, but he writes like a journalist. And I asked why she also has deeper interest in agribusiness.
Okay.
That is what I see is helping her in the agribusiness thing. doing. She writes a lot. She writes. She does everything about her own website, her magazines and everything. She does it. You know, even though she has a couple of people who are helping by way of staffing. But professionally and taking that as a job, as a profession or a career, I don't have anyone. The other one I have is also doing civil engineering. So I'm left alone.
Sir, in Ghana, the common chorus on the lips of journalists, whether retired or in active service, is that the craft does not pay. Would you also sing from the same song sheet, having practiced across borders and in Ghana?
It depends upon the individual. You need to add value to yourself. Add value to yourself, and you add value, you will be marketable. Your value and your worth will deepen. Take it for instance. I am kidnapped somewhere.
Okay.
And then my kidnappers, may God forbid, anyway.
That's right. Yes.
My kidnappers are demanding a ransom. And they put about 1 million cedis because I worth more than that, 1 million cedis on my head. See, if you know my worth, come and pay that and rescue me if you have the money. Even if you don't have the money, you go and mobilize money somewhere. Perhaps sell your property and come and rescue me.
That's
but
right.
if you don't know my words, even if the rescuers and the kidnappers are demanding 1 peso, you will not bother.
That's right. Because you are not sure you have the capacity to pay back when you are free.
Yes. But if you put yourself there, add some value to yourself as a journalist. At certain times, from nowhere, people send me emails. People send me call. I get calls. Write this for us. Can you do this event for us? Can you do this stuff for us? How do they know that? A few of them are coming from my union, the National Union of Journalists in the UK anyway.
Okay.
But some of them, I don't know them at all. And people mention me to them because perhaps they know what I can do and what I can offer. So I am saying it's not about having your PhD, not about having your master's degree. It's about proving yourself a worthy journalist. Having the practice and doing the professional thing, the ethics and everything properly done. I'm not bragging, but if I put a proposal or a script before you, if you want a job from me, and you throw it away, you might be the devil's in-law. Because I've paid money to have myself capacitated well. So I know how to put up proposal. I know how to convince people to buy into my ideas. And when you get me a proposal to work on it for you, I will deliver. So I will say, it's not about you working for somebody. If you want to work for somebody, my daughter Nanajua always said it. And that is why from day one after university, he has never worked for anybody. He said he hasn't seen any millionaire or billionaire who is working for somebody else.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So that has been a principle.
So that means she is charting the path of a millionaire.
Yeah. But for me, I work for people and people also work for me. So that is it. So
but even in your circumstance, although you are working for people, you call your terms, you determine your terms because by your capacity,
that's right.
It is rather they who need you, not the other way around.
That's right. So what I'm trying to arrive at conclusion on this is that just build your capacity properly. You as a journalist, you also have to write about yourself. Not writing in the newspapers, but let people know you. Send a message of your image and your dignity and your professional career somewhere there for people to know you somewhere. So,
a lot of people say these days journalists of today in Ghana are empty because majority of them don't read. You are also a consumer of radio or media content. Do you get the same impression when you consume media content, online, radio, television, whatever it is, you get the sense of emptiness or the lack of depth in.
I said to you, I research a lot. So there's any I pounds on articles by academia, by people in authority in certain areas, and you read similar articles by journalists, and you realize where did they train themselves as journalists. Some, I'm not saying you have to be an encyclopedia, but at least when you're writing, you need to have a broader sense of knowledge regarding what you want, subject matter, if you like. I said earlier on that in most, or not most, but some of the interviews that I listened to, the act of questioning, and at certain times, the journalist has exhausted all the ideas that he has, but still wants to. The program has not ended. He still wants to go. Confusing people, not himself alone, confusing his audience and embarrassing himself. Your knowledge about the subject matter is so limited. And when your interviewee starts dribbling you as a journalist, and I can't, most of the times I listen to this and I say, wow, what is happening? Some of the people that we interview are more knowledgeable in journalism than even some of our journalists. So they want to dribble you. They want to find a way of dodging your questions. They want to, certain times, even when they say a lie, you don't know, to put up supplementary questions. You don't know. You don't know their figures and their facts. So whatever they put to you, you accept it. If you don't know where you are going, you take any route at all.
That's right.
So you need to know your subject matter very well, not just knowing so very well, if you like, the nitty-gritties of it, so that you can talk to people that have knowledge. And it is not only for your consumption. If it's only for your consumption, you wouldn't have gone on radio.
That's right.
You have gone on radio or television. It is for the general public. And some of them listening to you have deeper understanding and appreciation of the subject matter that you're dealing with than yourself.
Nana, who is the biggest personality you have interviewed in your line of duty as a journalist? Globally, whether in Ghana or wherever.
I've interviewed a couple of them.
Okay.
Baroness, what's the name? I can't remember, but one of the baroness in the UK.
Okay.
I also had the chance to interview the Prime Minister of the UK.
Okay.
When Ghana was having the 50th anniversary.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was in 2007.
Yeah, 2007. I've forgotten the name.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him. In Ghana, very few. I've interviewed President Kufuor before.
Okay, as a sitting president or a former?
As a sitting president.
Okay.
When he went to the US to negotiate for, when went to the new US for the Millennium.
Millennium Challenge account.
Challenge account, yeah.
Okay.
He transited in the UK, and I had the opportunity to interview him. I've interviewed the former Liberian lady president before, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Yeah, that was by the courtesy of Madam Hawa Yakubu Gide.
Yes, Hawa Yakubu, yes.
Hawa Yakubu, he facilitated that interview. I did it on radio. You know, I've hosted radio programs in the UK before. Oh. Yeah,
tell us about it. That's interesting.
In fact, I introduced, when I got to the UK, it was all, and it was only on Sundays.
Okay.
And I approached one of the operators and said, we can do more than what we are doing now. Give me the chance to bring out something that I can do. So I proposed morning show.
Okay.
So I was the first person who introduced morning show in the first Ghanaian radio station in the UK. That was WBLS.
Oh, okay.
So I introduced morning show. Hitherto I was hosting, or if you like, I was co-hosting a program with Nana Obimbadu, the chief rabbi. The program was a political show. We were doing that with Sir John, the late Sir John.
Oh, I see.
So later on, I decided to go for the morning show, and it was a hit because there was other Ghanaian radio station in the diaspora.
Oh, okay.
Morning show. That was the
so
first.
You had a virgin market for it.
Virgin market for it. It was huge. And then with time, I was, if you like, pushed to run the Kasapa radio too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Certain things led to my exit there in the West of Africa radio as a morning show host. So 3 of them. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I had the opportunity to interview a lot of people, but these are the most prominent ones that I can remember for now. Yeah.
Is there that one prominent public figure whom you always wanted to interview, but you've not gotten the opportunity to?
Yes, I wanted to interview Tony
Blair.
Tony Blair.
Okay.
I wanted to interview him, but I didn't get a chance. The reason was I wanted him live on radio. Okay. And then for some reason, they wouldn't allow him to come into my studios. And he has a main reason. So they asked me to go and think of it, whether to choose recorded or live. So Ghanaians to ask him questions too. And when they agreed that I should, they will not agree the live program, so I should come and record. The time didn't permit him. Okay. According to him, for me to interview. But I didn't regret, because by that I had the networking. I had a chance to have some networking in his office. Okay. So the rapport with a few of them at the office was key. And still some of them I still have some 1 or 2 good mornings and things like that to do. So,
I see.
But he's a person I didn't get a chance to interview.
Okay. One of the principles of journalism is that the reporter, the trained journalist, is an observer, not a participant in the news gathering, processing, and reporting enterprise. But there are times certain news beats, you will follow some news beats and you yourself get yourself so engrossed because of maybe the emotionally sapping nature or the manner in which the story broke. Is there any news story, or is there any story that you pursued which afterwards you realize that this one, I had myself so much in it? Is there any such experience?
That I had myself in the story?
Yes, not necessarily in the story. For instance, I'll give you an example. A colleague told me that she followed up an issue with a rape victim. And she got so involved that for 6 years, she pursued until she got justice for the victim. 6 years. I'm talking about scenarios like that, where you yourself became an active participant because of the manner.
You became the news rather than news. Is that what you mean?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's the example I gave you. I covered a story and the story was not used. It was in the dailies. It was in the media that I have gone to seek for something. Yeah, solely, if you like, to before. It was in the news and I became the victim. I became the news rather than story that I covered. It was all over. It was a very sad thing. And for my father couldn't help himself. He was devastated at the time. Yeah, and he sat down with me trying to find ways, and he was calling everywhere. And the irony of it is that people who matter and people with position and influence who could easily distill the issue and resolve it were also afraid of their positions because of the power and behind the whole thing. They were also afraid, you know. And there was any substance. There wasn't any substance. And it dampened my spirits. I nearly stopped journalism.
I was going to ask that, whether that almost marked the breaking point.
And for 8 months, I was not working. For 8 months, between March and October. 97.
Was that how long it took you to get over the incident?
Yes, that was how long it took me.
Wow.
That was another turning point also in my Christian life.
Okay.
If you want to ask, because there was no help coming from anywhere. Matter.
That's right.
In society, in government, who understands the issue, and there's no substance and can easily distill and dissolve the problem. They say, and they left me to face the fire.
Wow. And
helplessly. Somebody will say hopelessly useless. and the only thing I could do was to turn to God for help. That was a very good turning point for me.
And that was the best decision, I believe.
Yes, and I think it didn't happen for nothing. I was telling me, and believe you me, it was the time that I got TV3. If you like, platter. I went to TV3. I have a friend, Usman. He's retired now. And then I said, he called me and said, I'm saying, I'm still here without a job, and the agony and the tribulation I'm going through. He said, come over. They have been picked at TV3 for, I think that was the first month they were in TV3. So I go to TV3. He sent me to one Mr. Papu, who was in charge of news gathering. And the man said, are you ready to go? And I said, yes. He sent me to another man who was a Malaysian, Azmi Atan. And then he also sent me to another one. So the three of them asked me to wait. Steve, listen to this carefully.
I'm listening.
And then they came back to me in about 20 minutes and they said, asked me whether I'm ready for interview. And I said, I didn't come with anything. No document. They said, yes, if you are ready, we can interview you, and then later we bring place. And then they set up a panel and interview me. They asked me to wait. And in about an hour's time, a lady came to call me, and they said they have given the job to me to go and start as the regional correspondent for Koforidua.
Did the incident that happened at GBC ever come up during that interview?
Yes, it came up.
And it didn't stand in your way. They did not take the side of your former employers.
No, for many people, they understood, even though I have not told them, there was no substance in the case.
You were actually given a raw deal.
Yes, no meaningful person will neglect my side of the story because of substance. And let me mention names here. When I got the job at TV3, I think he was the director general or something, a very high profile person at GBC at the time, Mr. Befia.
Okay.
He was there at GBC. And then when I got the job at TV3, he moved to TV3.
Oh, I see.
As the head of the station. So he also understood what happened. I was thinking I was going to be dealt in a way that with suspicion and stuff like that. Yeah. But believe you me, he came to my level, accepted my challenge, and decided to help me.
Mm.
And then he helped me all in my course, and he even, if you like, facilitated my going to Kumasi to start the Kumasi office for TV3. Because as a young man, I was so young. And
did his joining TV3 make you feel much more vindicated?
And I was not comfortable he coming there. Yes, that is the truth. I was not comfortable because he was one person who could have also talked to the authorities that no, this is not the man that I know who can do what you are saying he did.
Mm.
You know, but I think, like I said, everybody was just saving his face.
That's right.
By way of staying aloof or indifferent to my situation. So he facilitated my moving to Kumasi and all that. He helped. And what I was thinking about him, that I was going to be victimized or against the backdrop of what happened at GBC. And I had my freedom to work. So that is how it went.
Now you are producing a lot of works, materials, research documents and all for organizations and individuals that need them. What about your biography? Are you writing? Are you planning to write?
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing. I've helped people to write, yes, and I'm writing others for them.
Oh, so, I see.
Yeah, so I'll do it. I have time. I've set a time that I'll start.
Okay.
But it will be difficult because I have most of the materials around that. I'll just gather and put them together and do it. I will come out with it. And with your encouragement and support, I think it can be done.
Definitely, because I believe there will be no better textbook in journalism or communications than that single material you produce, because the wealth, the repertoire of experience put together and captured by the man who was in the eye of it all should be able to give anybody at all a compass to navigate the terrain. Yeah. So you owe us that biography.
I will do that. God on my side, I will do that.
God helping you. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I also intend to publish all my publications in the media, graphic and Times. For the past 3 years, I've been writing for Times every week.
Okay.
Every single week. 120,000 words. 1,200 words. Sorry.
1,200 words.
Every single week. Okay. On diverse subjects. And I think it's a good compilation that I want to do as well. And do the biography. So when the time comes, I'll come for assistance and support.
My last question, and on a lighter note, I'm curious, how long do you sleep every day? With all this extensive schedule you have, how long? How many hours?
It is a problem for me. Last night, I slept at 2:45 a.m.
That one is today, not last night.
Yeah. No, I was supposed to sleep last night.
Exactly.
But I slept this morning rather, 2:45. Then I woke up 6:45, which means I'm deficit of 4 hours. So there are certain times, so you won't believe me, but it is true. Certain times I sleep for the whole day.
Just to make up for the arrears.
Yes. Because if you don't do it, nature will take it out one day. Nature will by all means take it out. You'll be at the hospital or in the grave for it.
Yeah.
So I want to, more often than not, at times, I want to sleep peacefully. So I lock myself in the bedroom and put on a very nice climate that I can, and some little music. And I just sleep. I can sleep. The same time I sleep around 8 p.m. Wake up around 6. I won't get out of bed. I will be listening to other things and sleep again until about 3 p.m. or 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I try to make up because the second time it's unavoidable. You can't just avoid doing something.
That's
and
right.
It takes you deep into the night. and you are saying this one took me into the morning, and there's always deficit, and at times it affects your health. So I am very careful about that, and I know what I do to pacify that.
My final question: You've done You've done 22 years in journalism. How many more years are you going to travel before that pen that cuts everything is dropped?
Unless the last breath comes out of me.
Wow.
Because I like writing. I like writing. And some people ask, at certain times, GBC, for instance, there are certain times around 8 o'clock, they say, can you write this news commentary for us? And they will want it by 12 o'clock and read it by 1.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they need around 700 words. Yeah, and certain times I do it and I show it to my boys and say, but then I'll try it. So I think it's I give the glory to God. Because I never thought I'll be here. I never thought. If I look at the lineage and all that, I never thought. So I give the glory to God. To God be the greatest He has done.
Wonderful.
For today, people can seek for me and look for me to get interview. People can call me from around the globe for me to write for them. One intriguing thing that I'm going to church to thank God about. It's not about anything, but it's about a certain woman said to me that he has looked for me for 3 months. When he met me or he spotted me, he didn't know how to approach me to come and tell her story. And I'm a very member with him. And I said to myself, who am I? And what am I? And that alone put me in a very humble situation.
That's right.
Understand all that he could to bring me where I am today. So, Steve, thank you for your invitation. And I'm well enthused and happy joining you on your program this morning.
In fact,
I've become a fan, a disciple, of course.
Thank you very much. This has been Pens Down, and today I must say I'm blown away. The ideas, the thoughts, the submissions, and what have you, deep and loaded. At least his credentials speak for themselves. Dr. Nana Sifa Twum has been my guest on Pens Down. Pens Down is the only program that gets journalists to put their pens down and become the news rather than the reporters of the news. We'll be back next time. There will be another conversation with another penman or journalists talking about their journalism journey. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.